Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Orange County Funding Corporation. It's Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 5:34 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask you to pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Bill, will do a roll call, please.
Yes, Dean Tamburri.
Present.
Susan Walski.
Present.
Mark Green.
Present.
Giovanni Palladino. Present. James Rinaldi.
Present.
So we have 5 of our 6 members present. Dr. Vincent Odock is not present tonight. James Rinaldi is joining us via Zoom. And we also have a few other guests. First of all, it's staff, myself, Bill Fioravanti, Marty Boris is on the live stream. We have our general counsel, Susan Kassoff, joining our AV consultant, Dennis Brady from 88 Studios. And we have a few guests. Behind me in person this evening is Mr. Martin Hoffman, who is the CEO of Milmar Foods, aka Mac Brothers, right here in Goshen. And we also have representing Sativa, the cannabis manufacturing company based in Warwick here. We have Colleen Hughes and Sean Veravecchio. I have all of our guests, except everyone that is present.
Thank you, Bill. And proof of notice is attached, has been properly approved. And then we have the minutes. So we'll go to the minutes of March 15th, 2023. Everyone's had copies of those. Is there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
We'll make that motion, having reviewed them previously.
Second? Second. Thank you, Mark. All in favor of the minutes from March 15th, 2023?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. And the reports of committees, we just had the Finance Committee. And we, first off, our legal counsel are going to be holding separate finance committees for our OCFC and our OCIDA. So we'll be doing that separately from here going forward. We reviewed the March financial reports, our current payables, as well as the COVID loan report, and the committee voted to recommend approvals on all these reports. That is the report from the Finance Committee. Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We forgot to mention this. When our CD, are you done, or are you going to talk about the CD?
I was
Not for OCS.
Not for OCS.
Okay, because what we also wanted to bring up was that we're going to close the money market account that's on here for $200,000 when the June CD comes up, and merge those together and invest them into a CD.
Correct. That was, you're correct, Mark. That was a recommendation moving forward. Recommendation of including the when the CD comes due, to include the checking the money market account into that and purchase a new one through CD at a per rate. Okay, that was discussed as well. Thank you, Mark. And under new business, approval of the minutes, we just did, correct?
Yeah, approval of March financials.
March financials.
Yep.
So that was recommendation by the Finance Committee to approve them. So we can approve the OCFC financials as presented. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
Approval of the March and April payables, which was reviewed by the Finance Committee. I'll make the motion. Thank you, Giovanni. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And I'll also make the motion to approve the COVID-19 resiliency loan update.
85% back, that's good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Good. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Rinaldi, were you and I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. 5
Thank
ayes,
you.
motion carried.
Motion carries. And with that, any other questions, or we can adjourn the OCFC meeting? I'll make a motion to adjourn at 5:40 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
CFC has been adjourned. And we will open up the IDA meeting. We'll call the IDA meeting to order, March 19th, Wednesday, March 19th, 2023 at 5:40 PM. Again, we'll do a roll call of officers.
Sure, Dean Tamburi,
Present.
Susan Wolski,
Present.
Mark Green,
Present.
Giovanni Palladino. Present. James Rinaldi.
Present.
5 members present. Dr. Vincent Odock is not present. Staff, Bill Fioravanti and Marty Boras here. Susan Katzoff, our general counsel, Dennis Brady, our AV consultant, and we have a few guests that I will get to in a few moments.
Thank you, Bill. Proof of notice is attached. That was completed. And I'm going to turn it over to Bill.
Sure, yeah, I would like to start with just a quick in memoriam. This past week, we actually lost one of our former board members. No one that any of us here directly worked with. Well, I did in my other capacities in economic development. His name was John Steinberg. He was actually a 30-year board member for the Orange County IDA. He was a residential developer and contractor based in Newburgh. Again, he served this board for a few decades, which I thought was incredible to think about, because we've been making it very clear lately, especially in the news, due to some of the criticism that this is a completely volunteer board of directors. You all know that it's thankless work to begin with. There's no praise to be had here. Actually, on the contrary, you're typically going to be enduring a lot of criticism along the way. It's probably heated up over the last couple of years, but it was always the case because this is a busy IDA. They were aggressive. They wanted to land these companies. And John was a part of that. But I will also say that John and I, observing him for several years, he was not just someone that just stand pat, and that even with what we now know in hindsight was malfeasance going on, John was asking tough questions. He wouldn't let things go, even in his 80s. He would bring things up the next month when they were trying to bury them at that time. So I really think he deserves a lot of respect. He really was. So I think we owe him and his family, again, in his memory, really a debt of gratitude. And I'm sure the entire board, as well as past members and of course the whole staff, join me in thanking Mr. Steinberg for his selfless service. The last thing I want to say is I encourage anyone watching or any of our members to look up his obituary. I actually brought it. I'll hand it out. I don't think I did hand that out, but I'll share it. It's pretty interesting. He lived an exciting life. He actually was an all-star, All-American football player for Stanford, and went on to play for the New York Giants for 6 months. Never knew about him, and big family man, just known as a good man. So just wanted to acknowledge his service and his passing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then before we continue, there's a few changes on the agenda. We are going to be moving Skinnell from it, and Skinnell is going to go to next month. That'll be in the May meeting, and then we're going to move up 2 items, the front of the agenda. We're going to move the Sativa presentation and Milmar Foods presentation up to the front of the agenda. And I believe we can go right ahead in those.
Sure, if we could, I'm going to move this box. I'm going to ask Mr. Hoffman, Mr. Martin Hoffman, please join us right here, sir. Mr. Hoffman is the president, aren't you, sir? The president of Milmar Foods, also known as Mack Brothers. Of course, they applied for assistance from the IDA months ago for their expansion, something they've been really mulling for a long time. Since I've known you, sir, we've been talking about this, and there are a number of variables that really they were dependent upon, including ultimately IDA incentives. As many people know, again, Mack Brothers was the corporate name they used for their application with us. We got a lot of attention because there is a question on our application and on every IDA in the state's application that says, do you plan to proceed with this project even if you don't get the incentives? And Mack Brothers and other applicants have checked yes. By the way, and Sue Kassoff can back me up, this is what the general municipal law calls for. You're supposed to answer that question, and if it is an affirmative, you're supposed to ask what the extenuating circumstances are. So although our senator wanted to pick on this, and as he does, he changes and conflates facts, made a big deal, even opened an investigation. To me, this is not just about Mack Brothers, it's about others, including Satipa, who checked yes. And I will say from my own standpoint, and I think Mr. Hoffman will back me up on this, I worked with these applicants in completing their applications. I'm still someone new to this, but it was in an effort to be as transparent and truthful as possible, that they checked yes, that, yeah, we still want to do this, but there are circumstances, and if we don't get the incentives, there will be ramifications. So, Mr. Hoffman, thanks for joining us again. This is just going to take a couple of minutes. You are all approved, and we're moving towards closing on your incentives. But I did, for the sake of the public record and for the board to hear in person, you checked yes, saying that if you did not get incentives to the IDA, you still plan to proceed with the project. In your answer, again, the second part of that question, it was about the time frame it would take to build this if you didn't get incentives and how many jobs you would create. Could you expand on that and just tell us, as you get incentives, what your plans are? And I have a couple other questions for you.
We answered that we need to build what we have to build. We need incentives to go forward. If we don't do it here, we'll put somewhere else. But Jersey is, my son has been talking to Jersey, and they want to give us incentives, and they want us to come to Jersey. So if we don't get incentives and what we need, we'll have to go somewhere else. I like it here. We've stayed here. We have over 300 employees. We're expanding other areas. Our company is growing, but we need certain incentives, and we need to expand. If it's not here, it'll be somewhere else, and that's what we meant. We'll go on with the project.
So you already have a location in Newark? I don't think that's something we've really talked about, right? In New Jersey?
We have it in we have a warehouse in Rockaway, New Jersey. We're using right now. It's working out pretty well. And if we would move, a lot of our managers would come with us. But we'd like to stay here. We've stayed here for so many years. To be honest with you, my son wanted to move. He got tired of back and forth with what's going on. He was pushing me to move, but we're here already. We've been here a long time. We've stayed here, and we didn't have water, and we didn't have sewage. We stayed here, and we're comfortable here. We have our employees. They're very nice. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to stay here, but we need certain incentives. And if we don't get those incentives, we'll have to do the project anyway. It could be in Jersey or somewhere else. Jersey is very open to us coming.
You also have the USDA that was in the application, USDA funding, which is critical to the project.
Yes, we're working with the USDA to help us.
Would you still get that grant if you did not build in Orange County?
Yes. USDA said that we can do it any place.
Make that anywhere. And last thing, you also talk about water and sewer. That's something I think.
Well, we're working on that right now with the town supervisor. He's trying to get water and sewage and help us get it in from Amy's in that area to help us get water and sewage.
So there's still other variables that could threaten the project happening in Orange County.
We'd like to do it here. I have nothing against Orange County. If I wanted to change, I would have changed. But if I can't get what I need, I'm going to have to move somewhere else.
Do the members have questions? Hoffman, how it is back?
Well, I like to say I appreciate what you had said, and I do remember part of my memory a little bit about how compassionate you were about the employees. So you had said the last time that they've been with you for a long time.
They're very good employees.
And that meant a lot to you, so I think that should mean a lot to all of us here.
I mean, I go into the plants and I guess I'm pretty tough on my managers. I expect a lot out of them. But the employees that work in the plant, I go in and I thank them for coming to work and thank them for being here. During COVID, they came to work, they were here, and I mean, we produced our products and so forth. So we have nice employees, they're respectable, and they're very, very nice.
I for one would hate to see those jobs go out.
May I ask a question? Sure. So you currently have your business here, expanding. What is your expectation for any opportunities for new employees?
We will be hiring new employees. We're looking at new projects. We're working on projects right now in different areas. In food service, we're expanding. In retail, we're expanding. We've been in the clubs. We've never gone into Sam's before. We're going into Sam's now. We have a big order from them. And we're expanding our company. We'll be hiring more employees,
Estimate 5, 10,
20, 25,
okay.
15. Leave, new ones come. We definitely will be hiring employees. When we came here, we didn't have this amount of employees, and we built up, and we have a lot of employees.
I remember, witnessing a presentation from Amanda Dana when she worked for the Orange County Partnership, was helping you with this project, got going on 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
And she presented to the town of Goshen, talked about all the 350, 400 jobs, and every member of that town council was surprised. They did not know that you were kind of hidden away there a little bit on 6.5 Station Road,
Yeah.
but you've been there 30 years, never had incentives before for any of these projects, by the way, so paying full taxes, so obviously the board has already approved supporting you.
We like it here, and we'd like to stay here, but, you know, we need to do the project no matter what. But I hope we stay here.
End of the day, I don't want to see jobs leave this county and go down to Jersey.
I'd like to stay here also, so we're on the same page.
And in the application, the box was checked at, but what you just described was that as well. Is that correct, Bill? What he just described was on that.
Exactly. Mostly about time from in there, it's a small box, but they mostly talk about how they wouldn't be able to do it in nearly the same time frame, and they wouldn't add as many employees. But I knew there were other circumstances, so that's one of the reasons we want to bring the drop-in back to expand on that.
It's about competing with New Jersey wasn't in there.
Exactly. It was.
I mean, you know, you just answered it, and
Yeah, no, this was,
No, so this isn't a critique on, you're answering the box, believe me, that's not what this is about. It's, you have to make decisions that are right for you, and we have to make decisions that, you know, if we want to encourage opportunity and growth here, then we have to make decisions too. So, no, it's not a critique on you not filling out the box correctly.
yeah, no, there's no room really in there anyway, like you said, it's just a little blurb, so it doesn't give you much explanation on there.
Exactly. Any other questions, including you, Sue Casso?
One, thank you for coming in and clarifying. And actually, it's not so much clarifying, it's just reiterating, because all of the information you provided tonight was previously provided in your application and other presentations you've made to the board previously and at the public hearing, but it's always good to hear it again, and thank you. And just for clarity's sake, the company, if they are able to move forward with the project, has committed to 50 new full-time jobs. So that's a big improvement for Orange County. So in addition to maintaining those already employed by the company, they have made significant commitments to job creation in the future. So once again, just thank you for coming in.
thank you.
Construction jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of construction, yes.
Bill,
Question? Mr.
Bill?
Rinaldi, yes, sir.
what percentage of the current employees are residences of Orange County?
We did this at the public hearing, I think about 85% of them.
We did, you have a lot of Middletown employees, right? Yeah, I mean, it's not 100% because, I know Martin and Roy would want it to be. It's just so difficult to draw employees right now, so.
I'd like to have 100% if we could, but it's very difficult. Makes it much easier if they're, you know, local people.
Exactly. Could you venture a guess as how many people were?
Roy would know that better, but I would say 85. I mean, I couldn't tell you really. But
We've gone through that when we had
We did.
the presentation. Got
it's a
some
large,
rabbis
it's a
that
large
come in.
amount. Yeah, it's a large amount.
It's the majority.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd say the majority, yes.
A few come up from Rockland.
Majority of people.
Question?
Good.
No other questions? We'll let Mr. Hoffman go. Thanks for being
I
here.
really appreciate you.
Yeah,
coming back
thank
here.
you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Billy,
I'm good. Thank you much.
very good.
So, and then, we'll go right on to, correct?
Yes, so Sativa, we approved incentives for their project to help them restart their project at the Warwick Tech Park, former prison there. right across from Green Thumb Industries, who's almost completed their 450,000 square foot facility. We do have a soft deadline where we're looking to close on the incentives a year after they're approved, and we are at that mark right now. It was about a year ago, and again, Sean Baravecchia and Colleen Hughes are here to request an extension of that. Something Stu Katzef and I have been talking with Sativa about. And while we have it, I'm going to allow Sean and Colleen to explain what's been going on and tell us the need for. They did send a letter that I shared to us officially. And then I'm going to ask Sean and Colleen some of the same questions, frankly, because they did check yes as well on that. So Sean, Colleen, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you very much.
So Sean, if we could just start with your request for an extension. Can you just give us an update while we have you as to, first of all, what's been going on in the industry, especially in New York State, and how it affects your project, and any other factors that are weighing into the timeline of starting your project in Warwick? Restarting.
Absolutely. So since the date of the resolution on March 16th, 2022, a number of delays and considerable uncertainty have beset the New York's legal cannabis market. Sativa is one of 10 registered organizations in the state, and Sativa and the other 9 registered organizations now face some regulatory hurdles. Those being a 3-year delayed commencement of retail adult use sales and anticipated licensing and other fees in the approximate total of $19 million. So these measures were set forth in proposed draft regulations, and we're awaiting finalization of these regulations and promulgation of these regulations. But the impact that the fee and the 3-year retail delay have had has impacted cannabis projects throughout the state. It's sort of cooled interest from potential investors and the ability to secure financing for these projects. So this is something that is an ongoing concern, an ongoing issue for us and for other operators as well.
What can you project amidst all of that? What can you project about your timeline going forward for this project?
Well, regarding our timeline, I think that relates back to our extension request. In our extension request, we requested a 150 delay extension. We should have some clarity on the adult use regulations, the finalized adult use regulations, in about July or August of 2023. I think, once we have some clarity there, it'll be, easier for us to secure funding, and we will likely be able to continue with our phase build out. I know we, in our application, I believe we alluded to a 12 to 15 months to complete the project, with a note that, to be determined based upon, external factors.
Before I get to the but-for piece, any questions about the extension request or project at all?
Well, I was just curious as you're talking about it, is that, so when you produce the cannabis, it only can be sold in New York then, or it could go other places? That's why I was like, could it go in other states, cross state lines?
No, sir. Due to federal law, anything produced in New York would remain entirely within New York's borders.
My question is 150 days going to be enough? Because that legislation seems to kind of get kicked to the curb a lot.
We believe it is for our closing extension request. We're hopeful that there will be some significant material changes made that will be, in the final regulations. There's been a public comment period, and we've submitted public comment along with most, if not all, of the other medical operators, existing medical operators, regarding those 2 primary concerns. The amount of that fee and the 3-year delay for retail. There are a number of shared issues there, and we believe that, there will be some changes in these final regulations. We've had productive discussions with senior staff and policy members of the Office of Cannabis Management, and they seem, it seems like there will be some some flexibility there, but, it remains to be seen what changes, if any, will actually occur.
If I just may add to that, just to clarify that the adoption of the final regulations after the second round of public comment would not need to be passed in an act of legislation. It would merely be adopted by the board in a similar meeting to just say, yes, we approve and adopt the final regulations. So we don't have to wait for the legislative process to take that long to finalize. So we do anticipate that coming down the pike sometime, like Sean said, mid to late summer to have a better handle on what they're going to be asking for us. Thanks.
Any questions from the members about the extension?
Well, my question is internal. Downside.
I just think in part, generally, the idea is not wanting to have too many projects lingering out there that are active and unresolved.
We don't get paid.
Yeah, we haven't closed, so outside of what's covered under the application fee, any other work to get the project close to closing is not been compensated for with our council and the IDA. Sue, could you expand on that? What is the downside of any extension of a project like this?
I don't believe that there is a downside to a short-term extension. I think it is done, not every day, but it certainly isn't exceptional. I think that the IDA initially, as most IDAs do, have a time frame within which you need to close on the transaction in order to secure the benefits. The IDA doesn't want to be in a position where it is obligated to provide benefits ad infinitum when they base their approvals on certain circumstances and facts that were presented, which given time can change. So that's why the initial time frame is in there. Most projects do close within that time frame. So I don't believe that the extension, especially under these circumstances, and I can vouch for the fact that the state has not issued the regulations it needs to. It doesn't issue licenses on time. Its announcement came way before it was ready to implement the program, if you will. So there's a lot of people facing similar challenges when it comes to cannabis and the various, factions that either manufacturing, selling, whatever the case may be. So I'm not at all surprised nor bothered by the request. I would note for the record that any request should be conditioned upon the understanding that legal fees and other fees that have been incurred by the agency are an obligation of the company, regardless of whether benefits are ultimately conferred. They assume those when they file the application, and they need to pay them regardless, even if they don't go forward. So with that acknowledgement, I would, if the board is still interested in the project, that they grant the extension.
I mean, it appears that, what he's saying is that the state is actually kind of holding this up.
No, I mean, look, this has been a ready, shoot, aim since exactly. Other silly. No, I just wanted to have a 360 view, and I understand, this is a another reason why we're here, because I won't get political. But,
So the only thing, so there's somewhat of a facility there, correct? Partially constructed.
It's a shell, basically.
So are you gonna be working on that in the meantime, or you need this to move forward with some of that, or?
We, at this juncture, we're not, there's minimal work on site. It's really just maintenance work, weeding, grass cutting. I think some of the work was mandated by the town of Warwick to prevent the existing structure, the shell, if you will, from falling into disrepair. But it's minimal. It's not, any sort of significant work. And, we do need these incentives to fully realize the scope of the project.
good. Bill, you want to ask your specific?
So we would, to move forward on that, or do we want to go through, the next, and the?
I was gonna answer the what if question.
Yeah, we'll cover that. So, Sean, as we talked about, as we just went through with Nomar Foods, we just want to revisit your application just because there's been extra scrutiny over the one question on our application, which is on page 18, section 3, question C. Let's see, the likelihood of undertaking the project without receiving financial assistance. Please confirm by checking the box below, will this project move forward without the requested incentives? You check yes. If the project will be undertaken without assistance provided by the agency, then provide a statement in the space provided below indicating why the project should be given economic agency. John and Colleen, I'm just going to read your response because you did a great job. You made it a microscopic font so you could fit as much of a response into this. So I got it zoomed in. I'll read it for you, and then I'll ask you if you want to add anything and if any members want to ask anything further. While your response again to the second section of this question, while a portion of the project may proceed without the agency's financial assistance, the overall scope of the project would be severely diminished without the incentives sought. More specifically, not receiving financial assistance would likely reduce the project size, facility output, overall number of jobs, and our ability to spearhead and support meaningful community programs. Conversely, receiving financial assistance would increase Sativa's ability to complete the full scope of the project and help the company effectively compete with other companies in the adult use cannabis marketplace, most of whom receive financial assistance similarly from this or other IDA agencies for many years to come. In other words, the contemplated incentives would provide both short-term and long-term benefits to Sativa. In the short term, the sales tax exemption would significantly reduce the overall cost of the project. In the long term, the pilot benefit would help reduce the company's operating expenses. It should also be noted that although Sativa is exploring a potential sale leaseback transaction with a real estate investment trust, a REIT, such financing would not cover a large amount of equipment needed to operate the facility. Moreover, REIT financing would not in any way reduce the company's operating expenses. This could only be done through a pilot. We are confident that the agency's financial assistance could provide us with the long-term economic sustainability that we need to complete the full scope of the project and meaningfully contribute to local economic development efforts. Is there anything to add to that, Sean?
Absolutely. So, our response that we provided for the application was based on the representations we've made to our regulators, initially the New York State Department of Health and later the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, that we intended to move forward with the project once we're able to overcome delays caused by financial constraints, COVID-19 and other external factors. Our intention was always to be fully transparent with the IDA regarding the work completed to date, while also making it clear that the IDA incentives for which we applied are needed to complete construction and begin operations. And to touch on another point, we referenced that, at the time of the application, we were exploring a potential sale leaseback transaction. I can say that, that transaction, due to some of the factors that I've mentioned, regulatory uncertainty, these draft adult use regulations, prioritization of conditional applicants over existing medical operators, that proposed transaction, fell through and never materialized. So, all of these factors underscore, our need for these incentives.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from any of the members or comments?
Bill, I just want to comment to clarify, the information you read came from the original application that was submitted by the applicant, is that right?
Yes, thank you.
And that application was presented to the board during prior deliberations before they made a determination with respect to this project, is right?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were reading from. Thank you.
The application was dated February 4th, 2022.
Thanks, Bill.
No other questions? We can go to a motion for to grant the extension.
So, entertain a motion to extend the benefits for Sativa.
The only question is the term that you raised.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, the other thing to add in there is that the applicant is still responsible for legal fees and costs associated with us keeping it open. So I would put that on the motion.
That is in the application currently though, correct? That's not something we have to do, or, I mean, in other words, that's in the application, if it does get extended, that they would be responsible? Or, I mean, again, I'm not saying don't say that, I'm just wondering,
Yeah,
So-
right, Sue? Yeah.
Yeah, so the application makes it clear that they are responsible for all of your fees and costs associated with the project, regardless of whether or not it closes on the financial incentives. But the resolution before the board also includes in it provisions indicating that they are obligated to pay those fees as a condition to the extension of time to close.
so the motion is to extend the financial assistance to Sativa, which would include all financial obligations for 150 days. I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Do a roll call, Bill, on that, or? does-
Sure, we can do that. Dean Tamburri,
Yes.
Susan Wolski,
Yes,
Mark Green,
Yes.
Giovanni Palladino,
Yes.
James Rinaldi,
Yes.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, Sean, Colleen, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's continue to stay in touch as we have been, and best of luck.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much for your time and consideration.
Yeah, bye-bye.
I think what you had said, though, is important. We should get updates from them, because even though we extended the 150 days, that doesn't mean that if the law changes, they might want to move forward even.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
That's the max.
Okay, we're back to minutes.
Right, we're back to minutes, but we also want to let everyone know we're adding CD approvals,
under finance.
recommendations. So back to the top of the agenda, we're looking to, for a motion to approve the minutes of March 15th. The minutes were distributed, everyone had time to review them, so.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Giovanni. Second? Second, thank you, Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
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 5 ayes, motion carries.
Carries. And approval of the minutes from April 10th of our special Board of Director meeting. Board of Director meeting. That's also attached, and we had time to review those. Everybody was present at that one as well. I'll make the motion to approve special Board of Directors meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call, Bill, please.
Dean Tamburri,
Yes.
Susan Wolski,
Yes,
Mark Green,
Yes.
Giovanni Palladino,
Yes.
James Rinaldi,
Yes.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Aye. Move to reports. The audit committee report, Sue, give us a report regarding that for the waiver.
understood.
This is,
This
Just
is,
Sue, yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we had a meet on March 22nd because Royal Wine asked for a waiver of the local labor law policy. The building that they're building is pretty progressive, and the engineering for it, they were unable to find local workers for that had the experience installing that kind of steel building. So that's why they asked for the waiver. We did make a little bit of consideration with that, and they did say they would try and bring in more local labor for the decking around the building, try and compensate. So we did approve that, the waiver, and hoping to get that one done soon. It's tough, it's a tough call.
It is a tough one. It was also really about the contractor of that size, that spec of that building.
That's
as well.
right, the locals didn't have quite the experience of greater than 300,000 square feet. This is a 600,000 square foot building. It was really GFI, who's the Boston-based developer, that's partnered in this joint venture with Royal Wines. You know, they work, first of all, very, very closely with Fellinger Engineering, our local labor monitor. And anytime they say, you know, we've tried locally, or did you call so-and-so, did you call so-and-so, they did a great job with that. But their bigger concern, they want to go local, they're clearly trying to, you know, follow the spirit of the local labor policy. Their greater concern here was this is a large facility, they want to get it right, they want the experience.
More money on the table.
It
That's
is.
not done right. It's, you know, everybody's got problems.
It was warranty issues.
That was the other thing. It was like a 10-year warranty that kind of factored into.
It hurts, you know, there's up to 50 local jobs, but, you know,
But I think the overall, they're still above the
85 threshold.
you know, so it's just this one facet.
Right, and they were, like you had, said, they would be as accommodating as possible regarding the decking, and also they had said they were gonna set up a meeting with the local, to see if there were some items that they could hire people.
Okay.
Local people, so, that was all positive.
They are trying to be good neighbors.
Yeah, it certainly is. That was really the entirety of the audit meeting.
So, with that,
I don't think we need to prove anything, no.
Okay.
No, we can just go right to finance.
Okay.
I think you have that.
So the finance, right, so the finance, we just had the finance meeting, and first off, we're going to, per our legal counsel recommendation moving forward, we're gonna have separate meetings for the OCFC and the OCIDA finance meetings. So we're just close them and reopen them. They should be separate. We discussed monthly fees for CFO for hire, RBT, CPAs. The CEO recommended increasing the rate from $1,225 to $2,000 to compensate for additional work that RBT's done above and beyond was originally agreed upon. The committee discussed some of those issues, and going forward that maybe we can have them reduced, but the board ultimately has recommended to approve that $2,000. Lastly, we discussed CDs that are maturing, and others we decided to close early to take advantage of increasing rates. We will make recommendations for new investments when it's time for the board to vote on the monthly committee report for the finance.
Great. Where are we next? Now we're back to, CEO report. Thank you, CEO report.
Mhm.
So just a few quick things for me. First of all, everyone does have a copy. Actually, I haven't sent you one yet, Jim, but I will. I wasted color printing on this. I don't know, I'm so vain. But this is a result of capacity marketing, working with us to pitch stories, trying to get some positive news out there. This is really about the work that we've all done to chart a new course for the next couple of years. Obviously, I'm highlighted. I'm the face of the organization as the CEO, but it's really, when you read it, you see it's all about the work this board has done. And I want to acknowledge that, yes, again, I get named as the staff person, but, you know, the work that Marty and Kelly do is incredibly invaluable. To just, they make me look good and allow me to do this. And obviously the work of our consultants, including Sue and Chris Canada. But it was a nice piece done by Epic Times, you know, really in depth. So we want to share it. We put it on our LinkedIn.
Yeah, I read it online. Very good.
Good, terrific. Thank you. Let's see, also, a couple of weeks ago, was it last week? I attended the IDA Academy put on by New York State EDC. Sue Walski joined me as well. You all have done your initial Authorities Budget Office training online as new members. You need to renew that every 3 years, actually. So, and there are opportunities like this. New York State EDC creates these opportunities. The meeting that Sue and I went to, and Sue Kassoff, by the way, was one of the panelists in the legislative update. This is put on at the Culinary Institute in Hyde Park. So
Yeah, it was rough eating that food.
Yeah, it was difficult. Even the coffee was delicious. Yeah, exactly. So it was great there. They gave an update on the budget. They singled us out as kindly as they could. But the entire New York State EDC is really fighting against these issues that we are as well, because they see it as a threat to all IDAs. They even had a panel on crisis communication and PR when it comes to that. So I got a few, I thought, valuable nuggets that taken back to capacity marketing to discuss. And, you know, just meeting other IDAs, being able to talk, especially in these difficult times, what we're facing. Great to have your colleagues there. It was nice for too, to be able to meet some other folks in it.
Absolutely. And they travel. I mean, you have people come up from Long Island, from over by the Syracuse area, and everything. A lot came down from the capital region.
Yeah, they do travel to these. So, and again, there are a number of board members. I think the city of Newburgh IDA, I think they had 4 or 5 members there, which is great. They really have a new chairman. They're really trying to reinvigorate the group there. And yeah, I know they got a lot out of it. It was nice to get to kind of mingle there. So that was great. We'll keep going to them. I'm also going to be going to the annual meeting, as I've done the last couple of years, which is in Cooperstown in May. So that's always a great meeting. I know I share the information, Dean's going to see if he can make it, but I don't think I shared it with all of you. I will. If you're interested in coming for a day, a couple of days, it's a great venue up at the OCIDA in Cooperstown. It's beautiful there.
It's a nice hotel.
It really is. So they hold the conference there, and then I'll be staying at the motel down the street, but it's still nice. So that was great. That's what's coming up. And then let's see, last thing, Jim Rinaldi, we talked about kind of a cheat sheet for board members, just really being able to have information at a I shared a slightly modified presentation I've done elsewhere, which I think that the information still works for the board. We don't have to have an in-depth conversation, but I'd like to get a little feedback after this meeting about that. And for one, I wanted to know if you'd like to see this condensed into a one-pager, if that's what the board's looking for. But I want to make sure that we provide that information so you've got, it's a good primer, I think, for everyone to get out there. So please, again, after this, we don't take too much time unless anyone wants to really comment on it now, but give me some feedback, please, and I want to make sure we get that right.
We can respond via email.
Exactly. That's what you do. I'll share it electronically too, as I did with Jim, and I'll ask for your feedback. And the only other thing I want to comment, I hate saying it, but I did say this when I presented to the county legislature on Monday. The amount of time that I'm spending on non-IBA, non-economic development, it's shameful. I'm not complaining myself. I just work, right? I got to do what we have to do. But the time spent on what I probably classify mostly as political work, I'll say advocacy if I'm trying to be positive, but really politics and the lobbying and all this stuff. It's a shame because we're not working on core economic development work. We are tracking that, as you had requested, Donnie. So I have those figures. We're tracking as weeks go by. But I just want to make that statement again for the board and for the public. It's just a shame as a result. We want to be working on economic development, being exciting, doing exciting, creative, to bring great companies here. And of course, we're spinning our wheels during a great amount of the time. Exactly. And I will have an update for you. If not next month, because we're going to have a busy agenda, then we'll bring them back in June, Delaware Engineering, because that project is nearing completion and they've had some really exciting results. So I'm looking forward to sharing it.
Yeah, like you had said, maybe looking into coming into the area, maybe not contacting you, seeing what's going on.
That's the other thing, right? Just Googling
That's
us and Googling Orange County. That's something else that can, I think, dissuade people from having interest here, is that maybe they think we're radioactive and don't want to work with us. So that's the downside of what we're dealing with. But we're plowing through it no matter what, and the team is working well, and I feel great about the work we're doing.
Till the next flavor comes up.
That's it, right? Exactly. So that's it for reports.
Thank you.
Should we get back into new business?
Yes, back to new business to approve the March financials that was reviewed by the Finance Committee as well, and recommendations will move forward to accept them from the Finance Committee. So I have a motion for the approval of the March financials.
Make that motion, because you guys did your job.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Good discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
5 ayes. Motion carries.
And then the approval of the March and April payables. I'll make a motion to approve as recommended by the Finance Committee.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Well, the only thing I'd like to, just before we do, because I think it is important to talk about the office space.
Yes.
Right, because that kind of does go under the payables. So did you want to talk really quickly?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mark. As I think everyone knows, we were looking to move to 555 Hudson Valley Avenue after a lot of deliberation and research and discussion. That's what we decided. Well, the landlord unfortunately rented it to someone else for an extra $2 a square foot. I did know that was a potential, but we were hoping they were not going to do that, but they did. So basically, our best option appears to be staying where we are. in a smaller footprint. And the landlord basically, we're going to be working on a lease, a shorter term lease most likely, so that there's flexibility on both sides, a year or two. I'll bring it back for further discussion here, but that's what I've discussed with the landlord. To lock us in there, they probably won't reduce the size of the space because they don't need to right now. They said, if we have another tenant, then we'll talk about it. But right now, it looks like we're aiming to pay the same rate we would pay if we had gone to 55 Hudson Valley Avenue. So, which not half, but huge.
It's gonna save about 18,000 a year.
Yeah.
20 grand, 20 grand.
That's
Great, yeah.
So that's the plan. So I'll be back. I think your approval, so you can remind me if I've got it wrong, but I think your approval was on Hudson Valley Avenue. So once I get that lease back, we may need to have the board's approval to sign. So we're due at Fort Harvey Lane.
Why are you rather adamant about a short-term lease?
Well, I want to make sure that we have some flexibility if, that depending upon, what may happen. But the landlord did raise the possibility that there could be a tenant who would want the whole first floor. So I'm happy. I'm open to, certainly further guidance. And if we really want to push for a longer term, we're that happy there, then.
Oh, my
Commercial leases are anywhere from 5. And they're pretty, you get locked in, you're pretty locked in. It's
Right.
not like a residential lease, so to break it would be expensive. And like you said, if someone came along and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you're only gonna have 2 rooms now, that obviously wouldn't work for us. So,
I guess to further answer your question, I think I'm just a little skittish after what happened, but maybe your feedback is then we should go the other way and, lock it as long as we can, but
no.
I want to build mutual trust again as well.
Okay. I'll leave that to your wise hand.
But I will be back to you before we approve, so, before we sign anything, I'd like to have started those conversations. And Lord, and we'll return to that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. So there's a motion to, and a second to approve the March and April payables. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Five, carries.
And the Skinell will be moving to the March meeting as discussed earlier.
maybe.
You mean May?
I wrote May. May. I wrote
May.
May.
You're going backwards.
Right. And we did the extension for Sativa, correct?
We did.
We are done.
And
Could it be?
no, well, all.
Did you
the
have
only thing was
deposits?
recommendation.
Right.
What'd you say?
I thought someone said at the beginning of the meeting you had CD deposits or lenders you wanted to approve.
Yes, no, I was gonna say that, yes.
Okay.
The CD, the recommendation for the CDs.
Okay, you want me to do real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, real quick, we already talked about the
Money market,
money market on the
OCFC.
Thank you. So this is specific for IDA. If you go to page 10, will help you fly through this. If you notice on page 10, the very top line, the TD Bank, you can see that was rolled over as we requested last meeting. So that's in a 3-month, so that comes due the end of June, but that's in a 3-month at a very nice rate. We have, if you go to lines 3, 4, and 5, you'll see Orange County Trust Connect 1. The Connect 1 has already come due, so it's already just sitting in the bank. We're going to wait, and then technically on May 19th, we'll lump all 3 together for a $750,000 CD, and we'll put that into a 6-month. And then we have 3 more coming due. We will have line 6 October 4th, there'll be something coming due from Wallkill, former Empire. The last two lines, you have a federal savings coming due in July and Lakeland Bank coming due in June. Those three total $900,000. So on October 5th, we will roll those into a 3-month, and then the 6-month and the 3-month will be close enough that we'll be able to put it all together to maximize. That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah, and less accounts to have to chase down.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, Mark, is the idea that you're lining up the maturity timing so that this board is making those decisions for multiple investments at one time?
Well, I think to make it easier, so we're not talking about CDs every month.
Right.
Second, I think, it'll simplify things. It's not necessarily lining them all up together. We still are going to stagger, as you mentioned. But things may change in the next 2 or 3 months. So, we might start to look to have longer term CDs if we think that the economy is cooling off too quickly. They might start lowering rates, so we might try to lock in for a longer term at a higher rate. Conversely, if we see the economy still hot and we think they're going to increase rates again, we'd rather be in shorter term.
Yeah.
Take
I
advantage
haven't
of that.
seen or heard anything from the feds on that.
Well, yeah, I don't.
It's been pretty
I
quiet.
think it's in May, if I'm not.
The next
So,
meeting.
So it's not necessarily trying to line it all up. It is to line all these little ones up to maximize our return. But yes, to line them up, to bundle them into, bigger tranches. So we only have maybe 4 or 5 instead of 10, 11. We think that's
Right, that was the idea too. We don't have so many, we're still gonna maximize it, but in fewer
Line items.
Well, it also maximizes the money aspect of it because now it's going to be quicker and easier to say, just like we did with, TD Bank. We said last meeting, when that comes due, roll it over, and you all did that when it is, because every day it's not sitting in that CD, we're losing money. You're not losing money. Nothing gained is
It's
something.
not earning money.
It's not earning money. And so having all these little ones coming out at all these different times, those are all missed opportunities as we're waiting,
Oh, they're not really paying anything.
Well, these aren't. So, now you're gonna see it really start to escalate because you're gonna go from, 0.6% to 4.9%.
Big difference.
Correct. And, on a $20,000 account, it's not that much. On $1 million,
It is, I think everybody did a great job, maximizing the returns for
Come a long way.
I appreciate it.
We were filling in the
Yeah.
dark at the beginning, didn't even know all the rules, and come a long way and really.
And you
kudos
guys
to
worked
everyone.
hard on researching all that stuff out.
Thank you.
That's it. This last one is really gonna consolidate it.
Well, it's gonna make some real money.
That's good.
So do you have a motion?
well, the motion is, our next meeting, or, we can talk about it again next meeting, but the motion is that we have one CD already come due, 2 that are coming due May 18th, that when those 2 come due, we will put those into a $750,000 CD. We will make a decision at the meeting, because it's the day before, to, decide whether 3, 6, or a 1-year CD. So that's the first motion, I guess. Are we good? We wanna, good?
You okay with that, Sue?
So it sounds to me like you don't really need to do anything tonight. What you're saying is this is what's going to happen. And at next month's meeting, we will come to you when they are ready to be invested and give you the options.
Correct.
Yeah, the next meeting is May 17th, so that's.
So then
Correct.
I would not make any motion tonight. This is a discussion item and the action really will be taken at the next board meeting, if I understand it correctly.
Correct.
I think we're a little, in other words, what Mark was discussing or making most, our recommendation from the finance committee, just,
Okay. You're just putting it out there.
So the board,
Memorialize it at all,
right,
but-
so the board, so the full board understood what.
And so next month, we're not blindsided. When it comes up, we already know about it.
Great. I think adjournment is next month.
Yeah. Anyone have anything else, any other items? Then I'll, ask for a motion for adjournment, 6:30 PM. I'll make the motion, first motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Jim. I